On this episode of Imagine That, we chat with Philander C85 on Instagram about one of our favorite topics, the Imagineers who created the park we love so much, that being the Disneyland Resort. So, Imagine That starts right now. Let's go. Welcome to Imagine That, the podcast where we explore the magic behind the magic of your favorite theme parks. Join us as we pull back the curtain on the creative process, storytelling, and design principles that make Disney parks and beyond so immersive. Whether you're a lifelong fan, a curious creative, or just love spotting the details most people miss, you're in the right place. So get ready to tap into your imagination as we take a deeper dive into the lands, attractions, and stories that bring the parks to life. Let's imagine that together. Welcome to Imagine That, part of Walt Apartment Productions. I'm one of your hosts, Amanda, and of course, I'm joined by my husband, Kevin.
Hello, everyone.
And today we have a fantastic show planned for you. But before we introduce our special guest, we got to thank our amazing sponsors, Sunken City Designs, Getaway Today, and Where in the Park. Big shout out to our lamplighters, our Patreons who are keeping that conversation going over on our Discord, which if you have not joined yet, what are you doing? Come hang out with us. We are talking all things theme parks all the time. It's totally free. It's a lot of fun. And we want you to be there. So scroll down in the show notes and click the link and come hang out with us. All right, so I've prolonged this long enough. We are so excited to have the one and only Philander C85 on Instagram, 37.9 thousand followers. We are definitely avid followers because every single Monday is Imagineering Monday, and that's our jam. Philander, how are you?
I'm doing quite wonderful. Happy to be here talking to you all, and especially talking about all things Disney history and Imagineering. It's my favorite.
Ours too. So let's
100%.
jump right into it. How did you get started with Imagineering Mondays, like as a series?
Actually, it was a friend of mine. So, a friend of mine who is a cast member like myself at Disneyland had a series that he did called, God, what did he call it? I think it was like Walt Wednesday or something like that. But he was doing a little nod on the windows of Main Street, and I'm assuming, almost certain that you're people that listen to you all know the windows on Main Street. But the windows that are honorary mentions to very famous men and women who have helped contribute to Disneyland's creation. And I was like, oh, that was really fun, and I loved following it, and that was really great. And I'd also noticed other people that would post, but not necessarily on a consistent basis, but they would post, when they can. And while I thought that was fun, I did realize that there was a lot of very particular knowledge that I had about Disney parks, Imagineering, Disney history that no one ever seemed to share. And I would say kind of as a joke, and I'm sure you all will find it funny, that when you like Google search like Disneyland like secrets or history, it's always like the same 10 things every time. So it's like, oh, there's a basketball hoop in the Matterhorn, and Walt had an apartment on Main Street. It's always like the same 10 things. There's this light bulb on Main Street that's red and white. It's always the same 10 things every single time. They're never any different. And I remember thinking, like, wow, no one is ever sharing all this other stuff that I know all the time. So just on a random way, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do my own little one, and I'm just going to call it Imagining Monday. I didn't even think twice about it. It was never about creating like a following or anything like that. I just like sharing that type of information with people. And I knew that if I found it fascinating, others, like you all, would find it just as fascinating yourself. So I started sharing it, thinking not much of it. And it was truly at the time just something that was for my friends, colleagues that just happened to follow me on Instagram. Otherwise, I had no strong following at all prior to that. It was really just to delight my friends. There was no ambition to become anything more than just sharing knowledge and writing it down so that people can see it. And then for the first, for context, I started this in August of 2019. So for the first few months, it was just, oh yeah, we got a couple likes here and there. My friends that follow me thought it was fascinating, but where it really took off, and I attribute pretty much most of the success of it to this, or whatever you would call it, if not success, was the COVID closure, where people did not have Disneyland. So they were looking for an outlet of where they would use, they would go to Disneyland to have fun and to kind of get that joy that that park brings to people, that place. So it kind of grew out of that, and it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I didn't change anything about what I did, other than I've noticed my writing style has gotten better over the years as I've just done it a bunch of times. But the format has not changed since then, and it became a much bigger deal, and then has only grown as people have shared it, because my hope was they found it fascinating enough to where they wanted to share it. So the growth that it's had has almost been somewhat startling to me, because it's still the exact same thing from when I first started, but now it's just more people have noticed it. And I think because the information in most cases is kind of really pretty intense deep dives, that's where a lot of that the fascination comes from. So, and the other thing I wanted to make sure was that it was also consistent, because I've noticed that a lot of people would do things like that, but they would fall off. So, I have not missed a single Monday since August of 2019 for almost,
Wow.
yeah, about 6 years straight. I have posted, even if I've gone on vacation, I've just written it in advance and posted it. So I don't want to be writing it on vacation, but yeah, every single a Monday morning, and I think I'm at 300 and it's like in the 330s now. I have it written down somewhere, but it's in the 330s consecutive Mondays that I've been writing it, and I have no plans of stopping. There's, as you all know, so much to talk about. I've not had a Monday where I have not known what to write about. For me, my biggest thing is trying to find things that are topical. I love finding topical things. So like today, because are recording on a Monday, I wrote about Indiana Jones because its anniversaries tomorrow. So I wanted to write about Indiana Jones, like keep it topical if I can, or relevant to something that's going on, or maybe it's like an anniversary of something, or a birthday of an Imagineer, or like the anniversary of their passing, to try to make it topical. Other times when it's not topical, I'll just do something that I find interesting that I think most don't think about. But yeah, it's still the same thing. So its growth is fascinating to me, because it started with the most humble of beginnings. I had no intention of it being anything more than just like an outlet for me to share fun things like that. So I'm excited that people enjoy it a ton. I'm happy that it helps people look at Disneyland in a whole different way than they did before. And I'm excited for people learning new things about a place that they love.
Yeah,
That's great.
absolutely. Go ahead,
Um,
Kevin.
do you remember what your first topic was as far as your first post back in 2019?
I think the first thing I wrote about, and this was back when I used to, so the first thing when I first did it, it was, I just like did random things. Now I've noticed in like the last, most of them now, I wrap a story around it. So it's not just a fun fact. There's a story behind the fact. So we talk about that often, when if I'm like teaching people about fun facts about, or how about being a storyteller as opposed to just someone that's pointing out fun facts, kind of like hidden Mickeys as an example. Like if you find a hidden Mickey, like it's fun to find it, but there's like nothing, there's no substance to it. So an example I always give is like you sharing with someone that Walt had an apartment on Main Street, and that is a fun fact, but there's no story behind it. So we say, well, what's the story behind that fun fact? So why did he have an apartment here? It wasn't just to sleep there just because. Or the Matterhorn is 147 feet tall. That's a fun fact. Why is it 147 feet tall? That is the story. So I noticed that my initial ones, it was just pointing out something, but not necessarily giving the story behind it. So then I started to make it into that. So I think the first thing I wrote about years ago was the like station wagon that's outside of Soren. um like that little area has a bunch of little hidden Easter eggs on it that pertain to like Disney history. So I did that one, but I kind of like shouted them, almost like imagine me shouting them all out really quickly, without giving you any substance to them. So like, talking about why they're there or what they reference. It was just like a quick like that. And that was back when I didn't really have any idea about what I was doing. That was it. But then I was like, I can make this more. So I started to storytell. So sometimes the thing you're learning, I could technically have told you in a paragraph, but I want to give you setup and context to the reason, and the reason why it was put there, what it's referencing, what else it could be connected to. So it becomes more than that. So I've actually gone back to that station wagon, in a later on one and giving it more context as opposed to just like finding things. So like what I'm hoping is it helps people become better storytellers when it comes to Disney history, as opposed to just like, here's a hidden Mickey, here's a hidden Mickey, here's a hidden Mickey. Like, while they are great, I like more substance, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
We're on
and
board
we
with that.
we definitely appreciate it. Absolutely, because I mean, like you said, when we do a certain, what is that station wagon all about? You do get, okay, here's your top 5, your top 10 things, but
Hmm.
it's the why, and that's what we always ask. Why is that there? What is the story behind this? And it's everything is put there with intention.
Yes.
Very rarely. What's the quote, Kevin? Like sometimes a box is just a box. Um,
Oh,
but
that's true. That was a
but
Dave Smith quote. Yeah.
But no, a box cannot just be a box. It's a box placed there by somebody
Mhm.
for a reason to have a story about something. So, sorry, Dave Smith, but I'm going to disagree with you there. A box is not just a box. But no, we are always about the story and the why and the who. So I love that you've expanded from here's this one item to a almost a mini podcast, but in like a in written form,
Mhm.
that you share photos with us. You share so much context within each post. And I know we've learned so much from them. So every Imagineering Monday, we're like, what is Flander posting? What's the topic today? So
I'm
thank you
glad you
for
like the
doing that.
photos. Yeah, you're so welcome. I'm glad you all appreciate it. I share the photos all the time too, because my hope is that people will go then find it in the park,
Yeah.
as opposed to just it being like a paragraph. Because uh, I often talk about that the importance of the photos is that people like you all can just talk to like family and friends about Imagineering, and they'll remember 5% of what you told them. But if you can give them a visual aid, like in the park, that helps memory, that helps retain the memory of the story. And then my true hope in the end is that when you're in the park with your family and friends, that you are also pointing this out to somebody else. Like, I don't particularly care if I get credit for like teaching someone something. I just love the fact that people are sharing the story, because as Disneyland continues to get older and older and we get new generations of fans, these types of things become more less history and more mythic and legendary than anything else. So if we don't have people telling the stories, they will get forgotten. And you, especially even more so now as we're starting to lose a lot of these individuals who these stories are about, you know, who tells their story after they're gone. A big part of also why I wanted to do it was that, and I know you all appreciate this as a fans of Imagineers, is that there isn't often a ton of material that is outwardly available on the individual people that helped create Disneyland. You know, a lot of flowers are given to Walt Disney specifically, and as they should be, but not necessarily a ton on the individual men and women who helped create. So I love getting a chance to share their stories to people, because, you know, you'll tell someone that Space Mountain is their favorite attraction and they won't know anything about it, but like, oh, let me teach you about John Hench, who helped create, you know, the initial concept art for this attraction, and they learn now about something more about their favorite thing. So I like giving love and flowers to the people that don't often get them. Yes, there are books, of course, that you could read on them, but people don't really do that like they used to. So it's much easier for me to tell you in a very bite-sized little blurb. You know, I think to your what you were bringing up earlier, it's made me a better writer, because I don't know if you all know, Instagram only has like a 2,000 like plus word count. So it's made me a better writer, because I have to fit it in that each time, as
Right.
opposed to I could probably like have written 2 pages worth on it, but it's made me have to focus it down into what is the most important thing. So oftentimes I've left out things I've wanted to share, but it keeps me focused on what is the actual thing that I'm trying to teach today, as opposed to like going on a whole tangent, which I easily could do off this subject, because I know you all can too. But what am I really actively talking about today? And then kind of cutting it down so it fits. So it's helped make me a way better writer. Like, I've read my original ones and I'm like, oh my God, these are awful. I mean, the fact you're still learning, the fact is there, but like, yeah, that's not great. Yeah.
We've been there too with our blogs. I just went back and looked at our
Yeah.
some of our first ones. I mean, we just started our podcast, not this one, but the We're in the Park podcast last May, and I was just looking at some of our original blogs that accompany those episodes, and I was like, "What did we do?"
What was
Yes,
I
the facts are there,
doing?
the photos are there, but this writing is just not.
Yeah, it's not. He's like, oh,
Oh,
it's okay. Learning lesson.
yes. Yes, absolutely. So, but that's fantastic, and it's one of those things too that I mean, we've heard stories about Imagineering too. Of sometimes when you are in you have some sort of confined element, like the character limit in an Instagram post,
Mhm.
it kind of forces you to go up a level. You
Yeah.
know, yes, we can talk ad nauseum about a specific topic, but really honing in on that storytelling and making it as concise as possible to fit within that confined space. So I love that you mentioned that because I think that can be applied to
Mhm.
any profession that you have. So that's
It
awesome.
pushes you, definitely pushes you. Because I get mad. I'll write something out and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm like 400 words over what it'll allow. And I'm like, oh man. Then I gotta
Oh,
go back in. So it feels bad. Like sometimes I'll have written like a much more a much longer word for something. Like I'll write massive and I have to like shorten it down to like big. And I'm like, it feels terrible to do that. But I'm like, it's not gonna fit. Like I'm still saying the same thing, but I have to kind of limit my vocabulary in it as well,
right,
which can be challenging. And I'm like, oh, now it sounds like a kid wrote it, but I have to fit it in there because the rest of it is like too important to cut out. So there's always like these little things. And sometimes my setup for what I'm gonna share is bigger and I have to whittle that down a little bit. um maybe I'll have to post the much longer versions of it for people to read at some point so they can see like how I have to like squeeze it. Cause like normally, I'm not sure if you looked at today's one. Like I normally try to ask a question at the end, but I didn't have any room, so I just left it. I just ended it, and that was it. I try to ask a question because I love discussion. I love the all the back and forth that comes from topics like this. I love discourse, like when people disagree on certain things. I want to hear like their why behind it. You know, if they like something in the parks or they don't like something. I'm so fascinated by either or. So oftentimes I try to ask a question afterwards, but there was just no room this time. I couldn't cut anything
that's
else. It had
okay.
gotten too close.
Have you ever been tempted to like just do posts?
Due to
Yeah, on the same
um
topic, like back to
I've
back.
done it. I've done it before. I've gone back, but I've elaborated on it, but only if it connects to something else. Like I have done some series where it was too big for me to put in one. So like I remember doing one on the Society of Explorers and Adventures, and that was like 4 Mondays in a row because it's just too big, you know. And it was
Yeah.
every reference that was in Disneyland of them, and it's just too big for one. And I would be doing such a disservice to people reading it if I tried to squeeze that into a single one. It would end up being like how my original ones were. It was just like bam, 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 bam. So like that one, I was like, okay, I'm doing 4 Mondays in a row's worth of that, where we talk about, you know, the stuff like that's just all over the park that is connected to the that fictional group. Um, so sometimes I have to do that where I'm like, I'm gonna have to make this bigger because it's just too large. So I try to make sure if I'm gonna do one like that, I post it in a space where I know that it's not there's not gonna be something that's like topical connected to it. So I know I can give it 2 weeks in a row and hoping that people remember the last one so the engagement stays. Because I understand that someone if they read one, they miss the second one, you know. So I'm sure you all are the same way. I worry about really silly things like that all the time, like, oh my God, they're not gonna get it. And I'm like, well, I mean, you know, they'll get it or they won't. You know, it's fine. Just post it and then go on with your life.
Exactly.
So when it comes to a series like that, do you write everything in one go and then splice, "This is for this post, this is for the other," or are you writing each post separately?
I'm doing each post separately, and I usually know about 2 weeks in advance. Sometimes because of just life, and I know you all can relate to this. I have written some of them like on Sunday night, which is wild. Where I'm like, I always know what I'm going to do. Whether I get the time to write it when I want to is the only real question. So, like, I'll give you an example. As of right now, I am not sure what I'm writing the following Monday, but I'll have like it figured out in the next like couple days, and then it's like getting the time to do it. So, like mapping it out. But I have 100% written some like late Sunday night. My wife always is laughing at me because she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm writing this. I'm gonna write my Monday. She's like, you don't have to do that, like you can stop. You just gave yourself a second job. And I'm like, I know, I know, I know. I could take a day off, I know, but I'm like, at this point now, it's crazy because I haven't missed a Monday ever, and so yeah, some of them it's down to the wire. I try not to make that happen, but life is life. So you just try to get it done. But I'm like, I gave myself this job of doing this on the side. And I do love it. I don't consider it a job at all. Like it's so much fun to do it because it also deepens my own knowledge because I'll have the fact, but then I'll do extra research to see if there's anything else I can learn about it to add to it, especially if it provides context and more substance to whatever it is. So, and sometimes I end up learning more than what I knew initially, where I've done a deeper dive on something I already knew. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's fascinating. So it's always fun for me to do it. I never feel like it's like a chore. But yeah, there are some times when it's like 11 o'clock at night and I'm like writing this thing and I'm like, oh no. But I usually do it all in one go. I don't break it up over time because I get into a flow in my head about the kind of like the cadence of the way the story is going to be told. So I want to do that all at once. So like I just came back from a vacation and I wrote this one that I posted this morning. I wrote that in the airport waiting for my flight today, where I already knew what I was going to do. I just needed to get it down. I knew it was going to be Indiana Jones based. Like I already have one that I'm getting ready for, unless I change my mind for Pirates, their anniversary coming up on the 18th. I have one ready for that. And as long as something else more pressing doesn't think up or something like, oh, this is better, I think I'm going to just keep with Pirates for that week, just for its anniversary coming up. So I think sometimes people think that they're like really laid out in advance. They are not. Sometimes the ideas, it's like, oh, I know the next 2 weeks, or I'm like, oh, this is a good one. I'm going to kind of like put a mark on my calendar to save it for this week. Some are like, oh, this is good, but maybe I'll save that um, for like next week or the following week like that. So it really is up in the air. I feel like I probably should be um, more like stringent on it than I am. But I guess it hasn't served me wrong in all this time now. So but yeah, I
Right.
probably should like get it like at least know a week in advance. And sometimes I do. But yeah, it's truly a toss up because I change my mind a lot too. I'm like, oh, this is much better. Or like I just that one I did about Big Thunder Mountain just I think that was last week. Like
Mhm.
that they just added that to Big Thunder. So I was so excited. I'm like, I have to throw this one out there quick because no one is talking about it yet. Like that was not anywhere. And I still haven't seen anybody talk about it yet either, at least to my knowledge. So that I wanted to get out like as fast as possible because I was like, oh, I was riding Big Thunder and came back in the station. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so good. Then I had to wait till I got back on it again so I could take a photo of it because I wasn't going to post unless I had the photo. Because to me, if I can't get the
Right.
photo I want, I will not post it till I get the photo that I want. So sometimes I'm waiting for that too. So otherwise, I could have saved that for Big Thunder's anniversary coming up. But I was like, oh no, this is hot. They just posted this. They put it up. It's brand new. I got to throw this out as quickly as possible. So but yeah, I always appreciate the engagement. Whether people like um, what they think about them, like everyone's always appreciative. I'm hoping people enjoy them. No one has ever said they didn't like them or why are you talking about that? So not that I mind is all anyway. Like it's fun because the people who really love it, they care about it. That's all that matters because I appreciate that people are learning a ton, even if it is sometimes the fact that it maybe is more well known. I try to make the story behind it a really good one so that it could be something as simple as like we mentioned the apartment, but like really talking to people about why. Because I oftentimes, and I'm sure you both do as well, you walk through Disneyland, you hear someone telling that story about the apartment, but they just kind of point it out and that's it. They leave it alone after that. People are like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know you lived in there. And then they move on. You're like, oh, you got to keep talking to them. Don't just
Yeah.
leave it at that. But
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 wait,
yeah,
there's
more
so much more
context.
you need
There's
to know.
so much more to that. But yeah, oh cool, you lived in
Yeah.
there. All right, all right. It's like, oh, tell them why.
Oh, yeah, yeah, we completely understand where you're coming from with that. In the you said that you've been doing this since 2019. Is there an Imagineer that you haven't featured yet that is still like, oh, I gotta get to him or her?
I still have more windows to do, but a lot of the prominent, like legendary ones I have done. I actually I was gonna tell you all today when I knew we were gonna have this conversation when I saw the question. Um, in the future it's going to get a little harder to do, because I'm not sure if you all have ever heard the term. It's not like a Disney term, but have you heard that people have made it up? Have you heard the term rockstar Imagineer before?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like, like if you look now, Imagineering is more focused now on the group effort as opposed to like the individual. So like there, we look at like, okay, Tony Baxter and like Joe Rody, right? Bob Gurr, like these sole individuals who like, yes, they are known for creating the things they did, but they are like one of like thousands that worked on it. So Imagineering now, if you look at like their Instagram page or YouTube, they're focusing on the collective as opposed to the individual. So very rarely now are you getting like the sole man or woman who like made the thing. So you could do that, but now they are they're kind of leaning back away from that. So the reason that term like rockstar Imagineer, I don't even know who created that, but it makes a ton of sense. A lot of the Imagineers, they just didn't live long enough to get this type of acclaim that we kind of dote on the ones now. And the three that get it essentially the most are the ones that I name, and they are just ones that did so much and are so revered now, and they lived long enough to get to this point where people are like, we fawn over Imagineers and how amazing they are at their work, which is Rhodey, Baxter, and Gurr, where we know those three, right? Those three are so well known. Like, oh, Mary Blair didn't live long enough for us to be able to fawn over her as we do now. She just died a lot earlier in the time. But Mark Davis, Harriet Burns, Dorothea Redmond, all these amazing individuals, they just didn't make it long enough to get to this point now where they are like, we look at them like celebrities. When Bob Gurr's in the park, you're like, oh my gosh. And somebody else walking by like, who's that old guy? You're like, you don't know who that is? That's Bob Gurr. Like he's a legend. But a lot of them just didn't get that far. So now it will get more challenging because Imagineer is focusing on the collective. So now they'll make a post and they'll show like 16 Imagineers that all worked on this one project, but not putting any specific highlight on any one of them like they used to in the past. So like this one person did this job. So while you can talk about tons of them, uh, it'll be more challenging to lean in on specific ones because a lot of them they're just kind of showing the collective work. But I think I've done all of the like major ones, and I think major ones, and I say that with like the most love in my heart also because they're all do great work, of course. But I've done the ones that I think people like really know, and then like dived in some other ones because I wanted, like I said, I'm always very adamant about giving flowers to people. So like I did one years ago, or maybe I don't even know when I did it. It could have been like 6 months ago for all I know. But I talked about Joyce Carlson, who was a big advocate for like It's a Small World, but um every time anyone brings a small world, they bring up Mary Blair only. And I'm like, yes, she is wonderful, but she's not the only person that worked on that attraction. But people only say her name. And I'm like, okay, well, you also have this, and this. So doing a post about her was great because I'm 100% sure 99% people have never heard Joyce Carlson before. So they learned something about someone else who worked on It's a Small World as opposed to it just being Mary Blair. So kind of giving that love for those individuals, or what was I cannot remember his name right now. The gentleman that did all the set decoration for Big Thunder Mountain. So like his name is hidden on the attraction, but everyone only thinks of Tony Baxter when they think of Big Thunder Mountain. So it's like giving those type of credits. So it'll still be able to be done, but you have to get more in the nitty gritty now, and it'll be fun because we still have a lot of very prominent Imagineers that are getting a lot of play. They're still not on the Joe Rody level or like, the Bob Gurr level, but I think of like Scott Drake and Sharita Carter, like they're like prominent Imagineers that have worked on more recent projects that you can kind of say, oh, they were the lead Imagineer on this project. So, but I've gotten a chance to I did Sharita. I have not done Scott yet. So I have to work on that. So that's a good reminder for me. I'll have to write that name down. I haven't done Scott. And he's a big one. I'm sure his name will be popping up pretty soon because to the last time I knew that he was overseeing all Marvel based stuff. So he definitely has had a hand, or should have had a hand, in the two new attractions being built right now for California Adventures. So his name will be coming up most likely soon, unless his role has changed since the last time I knew. But he was the person that first brought Avengers Campus to California Adventures. So I'm almost certain he's working on that stuff too, if they haven't moved him to something else. So yeah, I think I've gotten all the prominent ones. But I'm sure if I sat down and really thought about it, you know, and I have a couple windows. But yeah, there's got to be someone. But I think all the big ones, like when people are Disney fans, usually they can maybe name like two, and then you get to like the deep divers like you all, where you can name definitely more than two. But then even still, there's so many more that people are just unaware of because their contributions were not as renowned. Like it's easy to talk about Tony Baxter because he worked on so many famous attractions, so he's very simple to bring up. But other people, if you were to say like Alice Davis to some people, they're like, who is that? They just don't know. So it's fun to educate them on that, especially if they love the attractions that she worked on. It's great to give them like extra knowledge on that. But I feel like I got all of the quote unquote top tier ones that most people know. But I'm sure there's got to be one I'm missing. I've got to be sure. I got to go do a little check. And then I'll let you know for sure. But if so, they're going to get added to my list immediately.
Yeah, bump up to the top.
Yeah, I'm
I
often
was
forgetting what I
wondering.
like. I have to go back and like look through old ones. I'm like, did I write about this yet? Because now after like almost 6 years, I have to like think about like, oh my gosh, because I still haven't repeated myself, which is great. And if I have gone back,
Oh,
it's to add more context. So I have made that many without having to double back on it, which is great. But sometimes I'm like, oh my God, did I write this already? And I will literally go through all my old ones and like try to look and see. I'm like, okay, I haven't written that. I can do that
Oh,
one because I want to
oh,
repeat. No repeats.
you need like an
I was
Excel
about to
spreadsheet
ask.
or something.
I
I
was
know.
about to
I
ask if
need.
you
I
had a
really need to do
spreadsheet.
that.
Yeah, for
No, and I
sure.
need one. I need to be
Yeah,
more like you both. I need to. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Like
How do you how do you stay topical then with those topics? You just like look up the dates that are coming up soon, or you don't have
a
like
lot
a
of
ongoing list?
yeah, a lot of it. Like I do have a list for those things. Like a lot of the major anniversaries for things I just have in my head already. Like those ones, just I know it's coming up. Like me already being prepped for Pirates and Indiana Jones, like big ones like that. Other times it's like a sheet because like while I have gained lots of knowledge doing just in all my reading and acquiring of knowledge that I have, like knowing when an Imagineer's birthday is or when they passed away, like that, I can be I'm very proud of my knowledge, but I'm not on that level. If someone is and they can tell you when, this Imagineer passed away or when they were born, good for them. So I'm usually just kind of looking up, like if I think, oh, I haven't shared this, I'll then start doing my little small research around it. Like, okay, when was this Imagineer's birthday? When was their passing? When's a good time to share this? Otherwise, if I can't find a good reason and it feels like a good thing to share, I'll just share it. But if I can find a way to connect it to something, then I will do that always because the topical stuff always seems to register a lot with people. They're like, oh, I had no idea that tomorrow is Indiana Jones Adventures anniversary. I had no clue. And then also more exciting if people happen to be in the park that day when they read it, because then they can go right on it, because otherwise we don't particularly celebrate it in the parks uh if it's like a 31 or a 52, like it's the zeros and the fives that get all the play. So very excited. Small World turns 60 this year, so hoping there's some kind of fun little I don't know, at least merchandise, at the very least, something that has the Small World 60 on it, fingers crossed. But next year we get some big ones. 60 for Pirates next year, which is pretty amazing. And then our Space Mountain's 50 next year. That's pretty great too. So like there's some big ones coming up.
Yeah.
So it's always trying to find like, okay,
Wow.
I'm going to write about Space Mountain now for the fifth time in 6 years. Is there something I haven't said about that attraction that's really cool that I could share? So it's like so I've talked about Indiana Jones a lot, but like never the ride vehicle, which I did today. So talking about how special that ride vehicle is and how it's a combination of a lot of different things. So, thinking about when's the right time to share it. So it always hits a lot more with people if it's topical, if it can be. Otherwise, if it's too good, I'll just send it out. Like I had to do that Big Thunder one, just like that's got to get out, especially since it's so new, so new.
Yeah, and I saw that and we were at the parks yesterday and I was like, "Oh, if we can, let's go on Big Thunder," and we just didn't get around to it, but
That's
next
next
time
time.
we
Next
will
time.
definitely but it's one of those like but you posted about it. So I know about it and it like usually we're doing a bunch of other stuff and the rides are not as high of a priority. So
Yeah.
now it's like, okay, let's go on this attraction because there's something new to see. And that's our jam. Like we're always discovering something new. And so when I saw that, I was like, a new thing. Let's go check it out.
A
But
new
it
thing to
seemed like they were just
find on a
asking.
retraction. It's like now we have a reason to ride Big Thunder again. Yes, we love it, but now we have something else we can look for. So I'm like, I gotta have the pictures. I gotta tell you where to look. Gotta tell you where to
Yeah.
look.
And to know the history behind it
Right.
too. Like so many would just be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. But
Mhm.
or not even notice it. But
Yeah.
to have the history behind it and that special connection to the cast members, that's awesome.
Yes, that one was so good because I have learned about that like years ago. And there's actually a gentleman, I think his name is Glenn Hicks, who has a window on. He's one of the few people who doesn't have a window on Main Street. His window is in Frontierland, and he was a
Okay.
member of the Order of the Red Handkerchief. His window is not too far from uh, bu- 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 bu-
Silver
Fess
Shore.
Parker's window. So like
Okay.
that Frontierland, the shops right there. His is like more to the left, closer to Pioneer Mercantile, while like Fess's is kind of like almost like Golden Horseshoe on that side.
Right.
Like if you have the like
Zocalo.
Zocalo to your back and you're looking right there. Like Glenn's
Right.
is far left, but Glenn was a member of that Order of the Red Handkerchief. And I remember reading about him and that like years ago and be like, okay. And then I'm like, what is that? So then I researched that. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like, what a fun thing for cast members. So you just have that sit in your head. Then one day you ride Big Thunder Mountain and you pull back in the station. There's a sign that says Order of the Red Handkerchief. You're like, what? And that was not there, a month ago. And you're like, oh my God, they
Right.
just put that there. So I often share with people how wonderful that even after all these years and this attraction that Big Thunder is 45 years old, that you can still add something fun to an attraction that pays homage or tribute to something in the parks that they did not have to do that at all. Like they spent money on that sign, you know and it didn't need to be there. Rainbow Ridge is already great on its own. It's very detailed. It did not need that sign. So I love that they are still choosing to do things. Yes, we're always looking for stuff in new attractions when they get built, like they hide new things. Like I am praying. I don't know if you remember, I wrote this, God, maybe sometimes last year, but they built the two new Avengers rides on the Timon parking lot. And I am like, if they don't put a Timon parking lot sign in those Avengers rides, I'm gonna flip out. Because they did it with Eeyore for Indiana Jones. I'm like, that lot was the last of the original California Adventure parking lot before we have now put those new attractions there. And there was even still back up until we paved it over to put those right, there was a Timon sign that was back there, still up there, even though it had no value other than just ignore historical significance. They just never took it down off a pole. And I'm like, that needs to be somewhere. There needs to be a reference to that somewhere in these. And I'm like, praying,
Make
because
it
that's a
happen.
that's a
Make it happen.
that's a future Monday. If that Timon sign's in there, I get to go back and reference it. So I'm like, but also getting the picture, going back and finding pictures of the Timon lot, in archival photos to show them, no, this lot was there, pre-Cars Land and all that. This lot was where you could still park your car, and now it's officially all gone. But that sign, where'd that sign go? Hopefully it's somewhere inside the attraction. Fingers crossed. Or at least a reference to it.
Yeah.
I'm
Something.
Yep.
Yeah.
hoping.
Yeah, I was
Well,
trying to think.
Hoping.
Yeah, I was trying to think if the Cars ride has anything in reference to it or not. Like for Radiator Springs Racers, I can't picture any
Yeah.
Meerkats over there.
Yeah, I
I
can't,
was
Mitch. If so, I haven't seen it yet. And I
I
feel bad
I
if I
could.
haven't because that's like, because that's like a 14-year-old attraction now.
I was
If I haven't seen it
thinking
this
too
long.
with I was thinking with web slingers, how there's so much stuff kind of in
Oh
the
my
rafters of
gosh.
that line. It might be hiding back there.
Did you see the one that I did about the
Wasn't.
the Hopper animatronic?
Ooh, no, I
Yes,
don't
sir.
know if I did. When was that?
Okay. So, oh
Refresh
my
our
God, who
memories.
who
Yes.
knows? Who
Yes.
knows when that was? So
Okay.
when you are going down, I have no. This could have been 2 years ago, and I wrote this. But after you go through the pre-show and you get your glasses and you're walking down the ramp, it's when you finally get to the space on the ramp where you step into the loading room. Where you actually see guests loading and unloading. But on the wall, if your back is to the wall that you're coming down and you're looking toward the vehicle load, there is there's like wires in a control box that are on the wall. It's like wires and pipes, and it looks very like technical stuff. Like it looks almost like it was added there like just for show, that showed that this was an old building that was retrofitted, by Tony Stark, yada yada yada. But the box that's there is the control box for the Hopper audio animatronic that existed in Tough to Be a Bug. And it literally says like block figure Hopper like on it, but you have to take a picture and like zoom in on it. Like it's the box. And I remember I wanted to get that confirmed just to be sure that was, but yeah, they just literally stuck it up on the wall. But it was like the probably emergency stop box for that audio animatronic. And it literally says, if you zoom in on it, like Hopper is written on the box. And I'm like, that is like real deep, like the stuff that like gives me goosebumps, that like they will put that kind of stuff there. Like it's that was so good, so good. And I'm like, oh my god, like I'm not waiting, I have to post this right now. Like that's such a good one. And then making sure, and again, I had to get a photo of it
Awesome.
because some people like it's hard to see because it's up, it's up kind of high. But if you ever get on that attraction, you will like you cannot unsee it now. Every time you go on, you're like, oh my god, like there's some bug references because they put so many in Avengers Campus. There's so many Bugs Land references. It's like perfect, but that's might be my favorite one because it's such a deep cut. I think people also love the 3D glasses. That's a really good one that's in there. But that Hopper one is chef's kiss. Chef's kiss.
Oh, so see, that's two things. We got to go back and find these. Oh,
Mm.
I don't know if I've ever heard of that one,
Yeah, I'll have to see.
but
I'll have to
that's
find it and
exciting.
then tag you on it so you can see it. Because sometimes people like will message me and they say, "Hey, have you ever done one about this?" And I'm like, yeah, let me go back and find it, and I'll tag them in it so they can read it. Because some people are like, oh, have you ever done one on that or this? I'm like, oh yeah, I wrote that. I don't know, months ago, years ago. I don't even forget at this point. Because with only like 52 Mondays in a year, and I'm in like the 300s now. I'm like, oh no, I remember writing about that because I do remember taking the photos, doing the research. So like my brain holds the space of like, oh no, I did write about this. I'm pretty sure I wrote about this, and I have to go back and reference it. But then I'll reshare a tag, or sometimes if it's like an anniversary of something, like every year I always share the uh Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly birthdays on their birthdays. Like I'll post the little bread tags that's in Pim's Test Kitchen have their birthday, so I always try to remember to post those on their actual birthdays. And I'm like, oh look, that's today's date, and it's on this bread tab up there. So I'll have to go back and find that one for you. But yeah, there's so many like fun ones that are from the past that I'm like, oh, just really really good ones. But I remember that when I found that one, it was so good. But I also love that I'm always finding new things too. Also, that always is like so amazing where it'll just stick out whether they added it recently or not, because I get to be in those spaces a ton, which is always great. But it's like when you something just kind of pops out, because very often sometimes it's being shared to me, and then other times it's uh I'm finding it on my own. It's like the Hopper one. I found that on my own just one day, just kind of just staring off in the corner. Or same thing, Big Thunder, just looking, because it made me think. I still haven't found out when they added the Big Thunder one, but it made me think like, had I passed it a few times and I just hadn't been looking that day, because maybe I was talking to the person sitting next to me. So it's definitely within like a month or two. I know that for sure. But so new that I'm like, okay, no one has talked about this. I got to share it. But I love getting to find those things like that. So I'm always kind of looking, especially when they come off of like refurbishments. Then you're like, okay, what did they put in there? Everyone's always imagining like a big thing will be added, and I'm like, no, sometimes it's really little. They're refreshing things, but if they get a little extra room in the budget, they'll throw a little tiny something in there, like that little sign or whatnot. So I'm always on the hunt, always on the hunt. But I love that I'm constantly learning. I know people oftentimes, and I'm sure it's the same thing with you all, where people are often amazed with what you have, the knowledge you do have on certain subjects. But it's the fact that you're always learning too, which is great. So I always love learning. I love listening to people. I love hearing stories told in a different way. So like listening to you all or someone else talk about Imagineering is always great, because it may be something that I already know, but I love how it's being told. Because oftentimes like we are just all students of everybody else, the people who came before us. So I love getting to hear like how someone would interpret, something about Walt, and like, oh wow, I like the way that they said that. I want to kind of use that in the way that I share it now, because I like the way that it was framed that way. So I always appreciate getting to hear things, even if it's something I know. I'm like, I want to hear the story. Just you tell it to me, because I'm like, okay, I like the way that you said that. So I'm always listening, always reading. Um, always on the hunt for something new, you could say.
Yeah, it's wonderful. For like whenever Haunted Mansion comes back, do you like have to be first in line for that with like the notes all running through your head? Because I know that's got to be a lot of work.
Yeah, anytime they come back, I'm always excited, I'm always like kind of like trying. I have to remember to actually like think about going through it that way too, because I'll go through Haunted Mansion and um, I have to like turn off the casual part of my brain because sometimes I'm like going through there and I'm not thinking about it, but I really want to start taking a look because then also sometimes things surprise you and it makes you think like, has that always been there? You know, if you've been away from an attraction for so long. Um, and I'll have to like do like a deep dive to remember like, okay, let me look back or let me see if anyone's ever talked about this. Cause sometimes just a fun quick Google search will make you think that. But yeah, with Haunted Mansion being my favorite attraction, anytime that goes down and comes back, I'm always like, oh, has anything been put in there? Cause I love Haunted Mansion. So it always pains me that it's my OG version. Nothing wrong with the other one is gone for so long of the year now. I'm so saddened by it. But I understand people love that other one, so the Nightmare one, so it's okay. It's okay.
They're
Yeah,
they're both
we're
great in
right
their
there
own
with you.
ways. Yeah,
Yeah,
but we got you.
Yeah.
like I
Well,
got my OG.
do you have a favorite Imagineer?
And are they a
Hmm.
rock star?
Oh man, they would be if they were still alive. I probably think off the top of my head, if I can think of one, I always think of like two that come quickly to my mind. Harriet Burns is always one, and then Mark Davis. I think those two are always super prominent. And it's hard to not appreciate the like the rock star ones. Like I obviously okay, let me add a third one there. Kevin Rafferty also. He is not on the same like rock star level the other ones are. I'm hoping that since he just retired that he gets made a Disney legend soon because his portfolio is pretty significant. Yes.
Have the book ready
Kevin's
for
got the
that one.
book out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his portfolio is pretty significant. So like I'm hoping that he gets that. If it's not this year, this D23, then maybe a following one. But his resume is 100% like ready for that award. So and then him just retiring after finishing Runaway Railway, he's like primed for it. So I'm fingers crossed for him. But I would say those three. Um, and I think probably I lean the most towards maybe Mark Davis out of all of them, just because of his trajectory from being like a artist and then just taking that same art form into Imagineering. And I like to talk often about his very specific influence at Disneyland. Um, and like so many things are based off of his artwork. So I love showing people like his concept art right next to a photo of the actual thing in the attraction, which is like they literally took his drawing and made it physical, like in a real space. And so many times you can see that in so many attractions, like gosh, looking through his book, that giant coffee table book he has, and like so many iconic things from attractions, in Pirates and Haunted Mansion and Jungle Cruise, just so many are in that. So I think he's always the one I lean towards the most. But then also his career as an artist when he was still at the studios is so amazing as well. Like he worked on so many like incredible characters. Um, so it's so much fun to talk about him because his studio work is just as profound and prominent as his Imagineering work. He almost lived like a double career, between both, and he has like accolades in either space, you know, and one of the few. I mean, also I love sharing that he's the only one of the nine old men that became an Imagineer. So it's also very profound that Walt only picked him because I'm like, I feel like all of them could have theoretically been talented enough to be Imagineers, but why would Walt only pick Mark out of those original nine to like to do that? I'm like, I'm sure Ward Kimball would have been a great Imagineer. Like, why not? But something Walt saw, I don't know. Like, that's a question I would love to ask him because all nine of them were immensely talented, but why only Mark? So it's having that be his connection to there. So, how profound, for him, Disney legend, one of the nine old men, Imagineer, like so many different hats that he wore over time and so much profound, um, work that he's done, artwork that he's done. His book is incredible. And if it wasn't so dang expensive, I would suggest it to people a lot more, because that's a commitment to. I don't know if you've all seen that book of his. It's like a 2-tome, 2-volume.
Yeah.
You have that
It's
book? Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
We have it. Yeah.
I
Yes,
didn't have
yes.
it
Like
ready
that book
for
is
the
incredible.
visual aid this time.
Yeah,
Would
it's
have
too
been a
big.
workout.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's a big one.
Yeah, if it wasn't
That's
so
very cool.
huge, I would suggest it far more to people. But I'm like, that's a commitment behind that book, and you would need to like really. People often ask like, what books would I read? I'm like, I want to suggest this to you so badly, but this is like such a commitment. Like this is a big, big book, you know. So I don't often suggest as much as like the Kevin Rafferty one, but or like other books on Imagineers, like any of Marty Sklar's books, things like that, that are really great reads. But yeah, that book is so good. Like all his artwork. Like I don't know if you all recall the last time Pirates of the Caribbean had a big refurb, they put up the walls around it, but they put his artwork on they put his artwork on the walls, and that was the best. Oh, because then his artwork they essentially blew it up, so you got to see it in such detail more than you would see on like a computer screen or your phone or in a book. Like a fun example I give of that was when we have to every few years we got to cover up the castle, to paint it, to make it look nice. But then they cover the scrim is Herb Ryman's artwork of the castle, and I'm like, and of course everyone's so mad, but I'm like, you will never see his artwork blown up this size ever. Like this is so cool. But of course everyone's like, the castle's, I can't take a picture. I'm like, but this is also amazing, because I've only seen this like in a book or on my phone. Like, oh my god, I'm looking at it, the scale of the actual castle, which is so cool. But again, that's only for like the crazies like us three. So that would appreciate would appreciate the castle having a big tarp over it. Even if it does have beautiful artwork on it, it's I get it. People come when they want that picture. So, but I'm like, this is cool artwork. But yeah, I think he is, he's got to be up there. But I also have to give honorary mention to Harriet and Kevin too as well. But I could go ad nauseum on so many of them. But those are the ones that I focus on a ton. Um, Definitely Harriet and her journey is like the first female one. There's so much power in that, and her working at a boys club, and then just Kevin's breadth of work that comes from like him being I think he's a third generation Imagineer. Yes, he's third. Yeah, just the amount of things he's worked on and just being a third generation Imagineer is amazing. For how long someone could work for the company and the amount of things they work on, and then prominent things too. A lot of stuff that actually even still exists to this day. While certain things get taken out, over time, for a lot of his work to still exist, and him being prominent from almost when he first started, working on bigger projects up until Runaway Railway is great. And then his iconic story, no different than like Tony Baxter working at Disneyland, either scooping ice cream or washing dishes at Plaza Inn, and then now creating all this incredible stuff that we enjoy every visit. They have have so many fantastic stories. But yeah. In a very long-winded answer, I guess it's Mark. You all helped me figure that out right now. After I just like wax poetic on him for like like 10 minutes.
No, it's hard though to pick a favorite. I mean, we've at Walt's apartment, we always do like, what is our Mount Rushmore of Imagineering?
Oh,
Who's
yeah.
your top? So it's always fun to ask those who are in the know of
Mhm.
Imagineering of who's your top, who's your Mount Rushmore, who's your number one, and because we are all the same way of like, well, then you have so and so who did
I
this, but then
know.
like you can't count out that so we could spend another 5 hours going down the list. Like now, wait a minute, but
That's tough.
with all of that, like, you were in the parks all the time, and how has this knowledge really changed, like, your appreciation for the park? Like, do you walk down Main Street or, walk towards, Snow White's, wishing well, and you go, "Thank you, John Hench, for the forced perspective," or, do you, like, give little nods, little tip of the hats to Imagineers that, most people wouldn't?
It has helped me look at it very differently, because in the grand scheme of things, it of course is a major form of entertainment. And I like to say that it's easy for people to fall in love with Disneyland on a surface level, like as it's intended. The attractions are great, the food is great, the shows are great, but there's this, like, as you all know so well, there's this fantastic underbelly of so much that's there. Um, and I like getting to, no different than what you all are doing. I love getting to help unearth that for a lot of people, because then they find a much deeper appreciation for the place that they already love. You're just making them fall more in love with it after that point. Because if you're able to enjoy Disneyland on just that level, then there's no reason why you would enjoy it. And while on a deeper level like we do, and half the time it's just finding what their niche is, because oftentimes people are asking, like, okay, where do I even begin? Because this is so, there's so many years of this, 70 plus years of Imagineering. Where do I even start at? So I often tell them, let's start at, okay, what's your favorite attraction? Like, go there. And then once you start reading about your favorite attraction, that will um open it up, and you'll see how just one thing clicks to another thing, clicks to another thing, and then it just becomes this huge thing. But it has helped me look at it differently. Yes, always a place of fun, and I never forget that, because I see people enjoying it all the time, just like you all do. But you look at it like a work of art, like this is all just a beautiful canvas. And when Imagineers hide their names or things like that, it's just like almost signing your artwork. So I look at everything that way. I've jokingly told my friends that I walk through the park, and it looks to me like, in the Matrix where like Neo sees the green code,
Right.
like that. So everything looks like that because, it's not, oh, that's not just a window, there's a story. So it's knowing all these individual stories about all these little things. So everything I look at, so like if I look at Big Thunder, I'm looking at this thing that I can talk for like half an hour on Big Thunder. And so when I see this mountain, it's all this information is like going through. So it's like looking at code for a computer for everything like that. Or another reference, if someone hasn't seen the Matrix, the Lego movie, when Emmett becomes a master builder and he can see all the pieces for everything, for making Lego, for making sets of stuff. So like looking at things like that. Because now you just have all these stories and appreciation for things like that, and truly looking at it like a work of art, which really it is. It can be easy to not think of it that way at anything in life. Like the chair you're sitting on, like that was designed by somebody, or the house that you live in, or the car that you're driving. Like it's easy to become like disassociated from the fact that it was made by someone, whether they built it or they programmed a machine to do it. But all of it comes from a concept and design first. So it's getting people to look at it that way. Because oftentimes I can help people look at it the same way that we do, is by sharing something about their favorite attraction. So oftentimes I'll say, oh, what's your favorite attraction? It's Space Mountain or Racers, Guardians of the Galaxy. And then now I'm like, okay, you may not be someone who cares about that stuff, but now I know I can fascinate you with a fun story about your favorite experience. And I know that you'll care about it because you know it's your favorite attraction, as opposed to I could just tell someone something about Small World or King Arthur Carousel, right? And they're like, I don't care. I don't ride that ride anyway, so it doesn't have any meaning to me. But if I can get you with your favorite thing, then I'm like, okay, now I've got you. And then I can see how far I can pull that thread, to get you more into it. So my hope all the time with the things that I post is that I get people to look a little longer, let their eyes linger a little bit more at things, than they would just on a surface level. Because now my hope is, you're in an attraction queue and you're not necessarily in your phone. You're looking at everything. You're looking at that random box that's in Web Slingers because that could be something for all you know. It just makes your eyes linger just a tad longer than they would otherwise, or how people that are in the know, like you should look up a lot more than you think you should, because there's a lot of fun stuff hiding that's towards the ceiling. It's not necessarily right in front of your face. It's almost like a reward for like the effort that you're putting in for it, that you'll find a hidden Mickey or something like that. So it's wonderful that these places exist, that we have talented individuals that are constantly finding ways to either reference the history or themselves, or hide hidden Mickeys, almost as like I said, like a fantastic reward for people who care. Because this is like the 0.01% of people that visit Disney parks that are actually even seeing these things, and that's fine. But the fact that they still continue to do things for that 0.01% is what's profound to me. Because they could easily stop and not do it again, and we'll just have the stuff that we already knew. But like how we've been talking about that one at Big Thunder, like that was so unnecessary. There was no need at all to do that, and they still did it. So the fact that even on classic attractions or what can be expected with newer experiences like the stuff in Avengers Campus or Coco, Avatar, that you can find, you can hide or reference things like that. You know, everyone should be on the lookout for something monsters related in Avatar. Like you should, like, because why would it not be in there? You know, it's almost like an expectation at this point. You know, we get to a funny thing where oftentimes people ask me if they see like a number somewhere, like, what does that mean? Because that's now they're trained to be looking for things. So they think that almost everything has a meaning. And sometimes it doesn't really. You know, I've learned over the years that sometimes Imagineers are just referencing themselves, and it's a way that something that you won't know. Like my friend Nick, he worked on Web Slingers, he put his name in there. And I think he put a reference to his dad, he said in there, but no one will know that except for him. Like, there's no way. So, like, I'll see a number and I will rack my brain thinking of how it connects to something in Disney history. And it's just like, oh, this is Imagineer. She put her daughter's birthday in there. And I'm like, what does this mean? I'm like pulling on my hair, pulling like, what does this mean? It's like, oh, it's a birthday for someone I'll never know. And that's okay. But
Yeah.
we are so conditioned now to be like, oh my God, this has got to be this is something. And it is. It's just not anything related to Disney history, is all. So I'm like, of course you should put your kid's name in there. Why not? You worked on that attraction. Go ahead. I'm like, but does that really make me like wring my neck every time I'm trying to like figure out what does this mean? Like, there's this crate in Indiana Jones that has numbers on it that I've been trying to crack for years. There's these numbers outside when you exit Space Mountain I've been trying to figure out. And yeah, it's just like, oh, it's just probably something I'll never know. But I've tried every type of combination for things, and it's just like, oh, but I see it all the time, and I'm like, oh, what does it mean? What does it mean? But yeah, that it's just changed the way that I appreciate the park. Like, I appreciate it for what it does for people. You know, there's such a joy that comes from people when they visit Disneyland. But I appreciate it for all the people that helped make it what it is. You know, and that has been shown ad nauseum in so many different documentaries, especially with Disneyland Handcrafted that just released, like, where you see the type of artistry that goes into these things. And I love that current Imagineers will find ways to reference the giants of the past. They'll put little fun nods there. Even something just as simple as Kim Irvine having that art piece commissioned for her mom that's inside the Haunted Mansion gift shop. Like, something just as wonderful as that, where to the average person, like, they may not even know they're looking at Madame Leota, let alone that Madame Leota is based off of a woman named Leota Toombs Thomas. Like, you wouldn't know. It just looks like a spooky picture on the wall for like the person who's uneducated on the subject matter. But the fact that that kind of energy still exists in Imagineering to continue to reference the past in so many profound ways is so great. So I love that the knowledge has helped me appreciate Disneyland far more than I ever could have. I think on a normal level, or far more than I think anyone could have. Because people love Disneyland, like love Disneyland, as you all know, and they don't know anything about it history base wise, and that's okay. Like, it's totally fine. But I'm hoping that in different ways, like whether through all you are doing or what I'm doing, or any documentary or anything that Disney does to post content about its history, or all these like fun Instagram reels and things they're doing now, that it helps people have that more profound love that gets them even more connected to the park, that has them pick up a book or do some extra research or look into something to find those kind of threads to pull on, so that they too can help tell these stories to people. So it's more than just a fun fact. You know, it's a tale. It's a story that's woven throughout time. You know, so it's something that will to continue on afterwards, after we've told it, or after the person who helped put it there or helped create it is no longer with us, that their stories are still being told. So yeah, it's just it's definitely helped me look at it a lot differently, and then helped me make me even a better storyteller, and helped kind of turn me into that like storyteller type person that I mentioned at the beginning, as opposed to just a fun facty person. Like, I love hidden Mickeys. They're great. It's just the substance behind them is, it's fleeting. You're just going from one to the next. It's cool to find it, and then that's it. So it's like thinking about those specifics, those things that you can wrap someone in a story with, like almost like a warm blanket, you could say.
Yeah.
Do you ever get tripped up on like people who come up with stories for things after the fact? Where
Oh,
we interviewed Imagineer Matt McKim on the show a few years ago now,
yeah.
I think, son of Sam McKim, and
Uh-huh.
he was telling us about over at New Orleans Square. You have that crypt over there by the Rivers of America, where I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember if it's 1764 or is that the year
Mm-hmm.
on it?
Yeah,
Do you
it's
know
like
the story
I think
behind
it's
that?
1764 because that was the thing from Eddie Soto, right? About the whole thing with the creating like a more connected story between like pirates and Mansion. Is that right?
That's the
Yeah.
story that everyone tells.
Mm-hmm.
The story from Matt McKim, though, the guy who actually put it in the park, he says the story in our episode, and it's just so bluntly matter of fact, where he's like, they had me working on this thing and like carving out the like bricks and stuff out of plaster, and they said, "Oh, for the keystone, just put a date on there." Then I asked, "What date is what he told us?" And they're like, "Just any date." So it's actually the year he was born,
Love
but
that.
minus 200 years. So that's the story behind that. But then you have Eddie Sato and whoever else like get attributed to other stories that are much deeper than that, with like Lafayette
Mm-hmm.
and all the stuff where it's like that sounds so real, but it's like no, here's a little. I just we were on a tight time crunch, so I just put a
Love
date
that.
on there
Here's the
and
date.
it stuck. So just kind
And
of
that's so
funny
good
where
too, because
yeah,
like I haven't heard the part from Matt, and that's perfect because I've wondered what that date was for a long time, and this is actually the first time I'm hearing that. So that's even better for me. I'm like, yes, I got a date for that. I got time for that. But I'm like,
it
okay, a
helps you.
time attributed to the past, but hearing about like, okay, him wanting to, Eddie Soto wanted to take that crypt and make it more elaborate, or kind of expand upon it just as opposed to just being there. Like, what story can we make around this thing that's already existing there? But I like that it's sometimes, like I mentioned, it's just this random it's so random like that. Or a good thing. The Hitchhiking Ghost, like them having names, that's not original. So now everyone's like, okay, Phineas, Ezra, and Gus, but like that, they were just the ghosts, Hitchhiking Ghosts beforehand, and then over time. And my assumption is that it was used as far as like consumer products. Like, okay, we can sell merchandise based off these individual ghosts by giving them names as opposed to just the three of them. So like, okay, let's add names to them. Or like the Tightrope Girl is now Sally Slater, but that was not the thing. She was just the Tightrope Girl prior to that. So like you creating, and then it doesn't bother me in the sense, like I don't try to correct people on that. It's more like you have current Imagineers that try to like embellish or add on to things that already exist, which is fine because it's still Imagineering doing it as opposed to like just the random people that are just making up stuff. So I'm like, if they want to add on to things that existed in the past, that's totally fine. But I'm like, oh, reminding people that these things kind of continue to grow over time. Like they never intended to have names for all those people in the stretching room. It was just fun photos that that Mark Davis came up with to put in there, and that was it. Like there was never any need to go further beyond that. And former Imagineers, the original ones, that wasn't really the thing they were attempting to do back then. They had a different type of job as opposed to current Imagineers. They are trying, or more recent ones like second or third generation ones, are trying to add more to more stuff to this lore that we love. So what more stories can be like unearthed from the Haunted Mansion or Pirates or New Orleans Square for that matter. So it is fun. But it is fun to hear that about the McKim story with that. Because that's true. I've been wondering about that date for a long time. And I assume the date, maybe it didn't have necessarily Disney City of England, but historical one. But it makes sense. I'm like, yeah, why not? Because like no different than I mentioned about my friend Nick just putting
Yeah.
his birthday in there. I'm like, no one's gonna know that but me. He's like, hey, it just needs to have a number there. So just put an old number. Who cares what it is? There's my birthday, 200 years. Perfect. Perfect, perfect,
So
perfect.
simple. And now,
And
the thing is like, what is canon at a Disney park, really?
Yeah,
So
truly.
it
right.
keeps evolving.
Truly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always evolving, always changing. Once we find a fun way to add some kind of context to a story, just do it. We'll just roll with it. We're just happy that stories are being told. If you want to find a way to connect things, go ahead.
Well,
Definitely.
speaking of adding things, so the original Haunted Mansion got a while back and the addition of the Candleman.
Oh
And
yes. Hmm.
and when it switched over to Nightmare Before Christmas, the Candleman is not in its place.
Hmm.
Do you know if it is anywhere else in the mansion during the holiday overlay?
I would need to ask some friends. I think it's just removed altogether entirely, but I have not seen it in any other place in there.
Okay.
But now I want to ask because
'Cause
that
I
would be really
haven't we
fun.
haven't seen it, and that's been one that's been bothering me of like, no, we need him back
Yeah.
somewhere. on this ride.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I'm gonna have to ask because some things are placed in really odd angles. Okay, so here's a fun one. I haven't posted this because I've never been able to get a photo of it, nor do I think they would. Disney would even want a photo like that placed. So the Haunted Mansion, the organ that's playing, the famous organ that's playing in the ballroom scene and has like the ghosts coming out of the pipes. And they're on this kind of mechanism that just spins around. So the ghosts are kind of just going in a circular manner like that. So you only see the ghost when it's going the circular part of it going up. Once it gets to the top, it kind of disappears from like the pepper glass like light and the glass there, and then it just rolls around. So it's kind of just going in a big circle over and over. But on the far side of it, so the side furthest from where you're on the doom buggy, one of those ghost heads is Jack Skellington. So he is in the mansion all year long, technically. And I've been trying for years to see it from the Doom buggy, but it just can't be seen. And I only know this because I years ago got to walk on a mansion afterwards and got it shown to me. But he is in there, and he's I don't know, the person that showed me did not know when it was added, but it's made as a fun fact to say that he's in there all year long. It's just the most people wouldn't know that. And it just rolls around like over and over again. So it's fun that even in cases like that, you're thinking, okay, who is this even for? Like, if in just to the delight of cast members. Another fun example, do you know, okay, when you ride Guardians of the Galaxy, the pre-show where Rocket is talking to you, he pops out of the vent and he's like having a conversation with you. He has like, and he made his like fun PowerPoint that's on the TV. He's talking about it where he's like, this is what we got to do. We got to free the Guardians and get out. And Mantis is going to be in the ship waiting for us. He has a little PowerPoint clicker in his hand, and that's what he's kind of doing the little presentation with. On the top of the clicker, which you would never see, is a hidden Mickey on the top of the clicker. So we're just like, okay, who is that even for? Because you would never see that, because you'd have to be up there with him, or he'd have to be taken down, or the clicker taken out of his hand to even see it. But it's the side of the clicker that faces him. So from the ground level, when you're looking up, you can see the back end of it. But on the top, which you cannot see, there's a Mickey on there. So like even stuff like that, like there's so much that so many people will never see because it's just in a spot where you wouldn't know. Or I don't know if you saw the one I wrote about it was like a few weeks ago about Runaway Railway, how we removed Disney removed the two entertainment buildings to put the building there, but they referenced the buildings in the attraction. So it's building N18 and N19. So again, that's a reference on the wall that no guest would ever know that. Like that is specific. And it's also only specific to people who knew what those buildings were called. So like you could easily walk by, like if anyone does run Disney, they've run by those buildings all the time. But unless you knew, okay, that was building N18 and N19 were demolished to put Runaway Railway there, that reference in the attraction is meaningless to almost every person that rides it, except for the people that knew and entered those buildings, which for the most part was just entertainment cast members. So even a reference like that is like, it makes your mind almost like explode at the fact that there's so many things that you may not ever even understand because they just have no meaning specifically to you, or they're in places that you would never even notice. Like that kind of stuff is like, oh, because it makes me like think, what else am I missing that I haven't seen yet at this point? But it's great because it just means I just got more stuff to find and more stuff to be on the hunt for, which is great. But yeah, that's like crazy, deep stuff. But I'm not like, who's that for? Who are we delighting with that hidden Mickey or that Jack Skellington that no one will ever see? Because even if you get evacuated off of those attractions, you're never in a position to walk through the ballrooms. Like that's just not a thing you'll ever see that. But he's there, and I could say I've seen that, but I want a photo so bad. Maybe one day they'll just talk about it and they'll post it, and I'll be like, oh, finally they showed it. They showed it finally. But yeah, that's a good one. I don't know if you all have heard about those. Those are two that I try to share. I actually have a picture of the rocket one because I got a picture of it sent to me. Thank goodness. Because oftentimes I try not to share or talk about things that I have no photo for, other than delight people, because I don't think anyone would think I'm lying about it. But sometimes, especially in today's culture, pictures or it didn't happen. So I'm like, okay, here's the picture of Rocket's his little clicker. Yeah, but from a different angle so you can see it there, as opposed to like I just need a photo of that because I have photos of Haunted Mansion from behind the scenes, but it's just ones that I won't ever post because they're like, oh, they show how the magic's done. So I've got to do a walkthrough and like, okay, you take photos, but you can never post them. Like, deal, deal. So I got them, but
Yeah,
maybe next time I see you, I'll have to show you.
perfect.
Done.
We'll hold you to
Oh.
that.
Done.
Oh, well, are there any other like we were talking about dates specifically, but like when you're walking around the parks and stuff, is there anything that you go like why is that specific? Like why is it that color? Why is that placed there? Like other than like dates. I know you kind of
Since you
talked about
haven't
a little
figured out
bit, but
yet, yeah.
Yeah, I think to flesh on that even a little bit more, oftentimes I'm kind of trying to put myself in the headspace of certain things. 'Cause I've even learned from some Imagineers, like they made certain things a color because like one a friend of mine made a unique thing inside the emporium, like a color pattern for like the walls and like stuff up in the above the ceiling area. That was just her school colors in college. So like sometimes it's just as
Oh,
simple as that,
cool.
where it's just a they just need, like they told McKim, like, just we just need a date there, like it doesn't matter, like he's like, "Oh, okay, like I'll put something there," so a lot of times, often I'm looking at those kind of decisions, and sometimes um it will pop up like a reason. Like I think the more in tune you get with Disney history, the more your brain sees these things. Because like as an example, like another fun one from Web Slingers is that like blue. It's after you get your glasses and you're walking down past the switchback, and they have the little signs that show you how to web sling. There's that big blueprint on the wall that's there, and it's like, and it's story based purpose to show you how your vehicle is moving under the attraction, but it has the date of when Imagineering started on there. And like anyone would see that, but it's like if you are very knowledgeable about Disney history, certain things just start to stand out. So like if you see a last name, like if you all went through anything and just saw like Hinch there, you're like, like, okay, I know that because I know why that would be there. Like it's little things like that. So I'm often excited to find things because I know that, okay, this is just solely, I would never have noticed this if it not solely based on my knowledge level. Like if you saw anything and it was like, oh, a last name or a date that was specific to Disney history, you're like, oh, okay. Like if you find any 2001 reference in California Adventure, and there's a number of them, you're like, oh, that is for when the park opened, and that's based on just your knowledge level just in general. So I, oftentimes when I looking at things, I'm like wondering if there's a connection somewhere. Like I wonder why this was chosen, and sometimes often I get surprised by things where like it's like lives somewhere deep in the back of my memory. Like I remember I did a great one is when you exit Runaway Railway, the cash registers in the gift shop at the exit. Those are all dates, but some of them are like deep cut dates. You wouldn't even think about it. Like, hey, why would this be chosen? But like having Walt's birthday there, like that's a perfect one. Or the date when Toontown opened, that's a great one. Or there's a really fantastic reference to Ward Kimball on the wall. And I only realized that because the reference very slyly puts in a animated short that he worked on that he won like I think he won an award for. And I remember when I read that, I was like, I've heard that before. I just cannot recall where I heard it. And then it took me a minute, and I had to like Google it. I'm like, where is this from? And I'm like, okay, this is a reference to a animated short, but the short didn't have to do with Mickey or trains. So I'm like, why is it here? Okay, it was done by Ward Kimball, who's also a train enthusiast like Walt. So okay, they put a Ward Kimball reference in here based solely on Ward loving trains like Walt in a train shop, essentially, or a shop themed around trains. I'm like, so like sometimes it's just like that how that always is like, okay, there's got to be a reason, because otherwise, why would you reference this like animated? And I think it's called Toot Whistle Plunk and Bloom is the name of the short, and that is and in the train shop. And forgive me because I'm like definitely paraphrasing. It says, "Oh, train repair will fix every toot whistle plunk and bloom," like that. I remember reading it like, what is that? Like I remember I've heard that before, like those specific words like plunk and bloom. I was like, no, I've heard that before. So then figuring out, okay, it's an animated short, okay, but why that store? Why put that anywhere? And that's okay. Well, who did this? Oh, Ward. Okay, now it's like, oh wow, this makes so much sense now. So I love like the game of like connecting the dots also on it, because otherwise, like again, even less than 0.01% even have seen that sign. That's one. Two would to know that it's referencing a film, and three would even do the research as to why it would be connected to that shop specifically. So it takes like me or both of you to like even have like the desire to go further beyond just like looking at something on a wall and like moving on beyond that. Like it needs that kind of person who is almost like obsessive over like these really fantastic details. And we are, like I tell people, like, yeah, only nutballs like me would even know things like that anyway. Like people are like, no, I walk in the store all the time. Like, well, I would never, I would never look at that. I come in here to shop. That's all I do in here. Like I would never look at the sign. I'm not reading anything, you know. But it takes people like that that are dedicated. And then when you reveal it to me, like, oh my God. And while I don't often always bring up the toot whistle plug and bloom one to people because that's like a crazy deep cut, that one is safe for like people like you, not for like the everyday people. Like, but just showing them that's Walt's birthday on the register. They're like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like they could have made that any number. And I'm like, I know, right? But they chose Walt. So like that's, you get people really fascinated. And then you see them become like they start to get that like itch that we all have where you're like, okay, I'm gonna start looking at everything now because this is really like giving me that. I gotta scratch this itch. I gotta, what does this mean? What does this mean? I'm looking up stuff, you know. Um, and I think that's the fun part. So it always makes me I'm always wondering about everything, like every number. And then some of them are just like, again, it's just somebody's birthday or the McKim, you know. I'm like, oh, and those bother me because I know there's a reason. It's just I'll never know what it is, you know, because the person that did it is no longer alive, or that story's been lost to time, you know. So those are tough, but I've kind of made peace with it now for the most part, because there's only so many of those things that exist. And usually now when Imagineers add things now, they're very direct references as opposed to like those things were like, ah, we ran out of time, just put a random thing on there. Like that doesn't happen nearly as much as it used to. Like all new attractions, there's usually a lot of thought process that goes into adding those things, like a fun reference to something in there, you know, like because our modern like third, fourth, fifth generation Imagineers now know we're looking for these things. So they'll find fun ways to pay homage to the past. So I don't do it as much as I used to, but I'm always looking at everything, even stuff multiple times over where it's like, did I miss something? Is there a little thing here? You know, and it just adds another fantastic layer to Disneyland that doesn't exist for a lot of people, you know, to where it's more than just the attractions and the food and the entertainment now. It's a place where you can just exist in that you don't have to be doing anything. It's essentially the park word of the word theme park, or the, you know, I'm looking at it that way. This is a place I could just exist like I would in a park, where I can easily sit on a bench and then take a walk like you would do in your neighborhood. It's the exact same thing. It just happens to be filled with entertainment and attractions and things like that. But a lot of people like myself and you both can look at it as just that, only as a park, not a theme park. Yes, we do enjoy the other things too, but has just as much value to us as just a park, no different than walking through like, you know, your neighborhood park, or like maybe even a prominent one like in New York City or something. Like it's all the same. It's giving me the same thing that other park would give me as well, if not more, because I get to watch people enjoy it on a much more profound level because of its history and how people connect with it, as opposed to just people loving to be outside and in nature. Like people have a strong, deep emotional connection to this place because it has existed in their family for generations. So they are experiencing it in a very different way, as opposed to, yes, I'm sure people probably have visited a park a lot in their life, but there's something very profound about how Disneyland affects people, or Disney just in general, because of the way they grew up with it, or the way they've shared it with their family and their friends that exist. So I'm always kind of like trying to be very cognizant of Disney from a whole, as opposed to just these individual things. A lot of people can unfortunately get really caught up in like the individual type things. It's like a big one right now is like, you know, Avatar and Monsters Inc., right? Where like they have so much opinion about that. But I'm like, okay, we're going to be looking at this resort as a whole, like holistically, you know, is this something that is good for the resort, as opposed to people try to look at things very like singularly, like I don't like Avatar, so I don't want that there, as opposed to, is this going to be something that is going to make California Adventure better as a whole? Looking at it from a big picture standpoint, as opposed to, I don't like that thing, so I don't want it in the park. Trying to look at it in a way that is better for the whole. In the end, it doesn't matter anything. Whatever they put there, they're going to love it, just like they are mad anytime the resort changes anything. You end up liking it afterwards, whether you didn't care for it to begin with. But trying to get people to reframe the way that they look at Disneyland, so it becomes more than just the surface level stuff, and then you find yourself appreciating it a lot more than you would. That's why if someone is visiting, they oftentimes don't have the time to appreciate it on a level like we do, because they don't visit nearly as often, so they're always on the move and on the go, so they don't have the time. But if their visits are more frequent, or they come enough every year, then they get the time, because now they're just experiencing the same things. They get to linger a little bit longer. So that's, sometimes it takes that. So that's why I'm always trying to help people that do visit often, that have, because usually, hilariously, it's people that visit the most that have the most opinions about it. So I was trying to get them to reframe the way they look at it, so it's not just the me, my. I want I want this, or they essentially are telling you, I want Disneyland made for me specifically, is what they're saying. They don't say that, but that's really what they're saying. Um, so trying to get them to reframe the way they see it. So I'm hoping that the way that I look at it, the way that you look at it, is something that can be then like kind of expanded out to other people, so that they don't see it as just this, like they're taking away my thing that I love. But I'm like, they always take away things. Like, it's fine, it's just part of the process. So, but granted, that was a very long-winded answer to your question about about shaping how I see the park. But it's a big thing about it also too, is what I like to do is provide context to people, so that there's a reason behind, even changes. Because even when I like to talk to people about why changes are made in the parks, like it's done on a big picture level. It's not done like, things are not done to bother you specifically. Like, the whole idea is to get you to come back anyway. So it's like, why would we why would we do things that make you go away? Whether you care about the decisions, it's fine. But Monsters in the Avatar one is just a fun one that I've been loving having a discussion with people. But I've equated it to so many different things to help them understand. Probably the easiest, the one I've been using most recently is, as an example, is like Big Thunder. Like, I'm sure there were people that were super upset when Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland left, because that was a pretty prominent attraction. But I guarantee you can find nobody in Disneyland right now that will ask for us to remove Big Thunder Mountain to put Mine Train back. Like, that person doesn't exist. And I will bet any amount of money on that. There's no one that says, get rid of Big Thunder and put that one back. So it's like, yeah, I'm sure those people back in the 60s were super upset about Mine Train leaving, but also not mad that Thunder's there either. So it's like, it's, and then oftentimes it's not even that, it's because I've been trying to ask people, like, are you mad that Monsters is leaving, or are you mad what Monsters is leaving for? Because I'm like, okay, what if it was leaving for a Moana land? And they're like, oh, that's okay. And I'm like, okay, so your problem isn't that it's going, it's just not going for something that you want to go there. So kind of finding out like the connecting piece for why there is like so much like vitriol for like the change. And a lot of it really is just, I don't like Avatar, which I'm like, that's okay. But a lot of people do. That's why they're putting it there. Like, it's not a like a very like quick decision on their part. Like, these things are all talked about at like a long time, I'm sure the email chain is immense, like that. But all,
I'm
all,
sure.
all of it, in whether it be fun facts or stories, all of it is about providing a deeper level of appreciation and context to Disneyland, so that people look at it a different way, so they can see it as more than just the basic stuff. And the basic stuff is great, don't get me wrong, but seeing it a different way helps you appreciate it for more than just what it is. Like, it's easy to let things go, because a lot of people's frustrations with Disneyland come from stuff that's easy to ignore if you can see it in a different way. Oh my God, the rides are down. I'm like, okay, just like ride the train around. Like, that's great. Like, oh, I don't want to ride the train. It's boring. I'm like, well, I mean, sure, I guess, but I could sit on that train. I could sit on the railroad all day long. I've sometimes done like 4 grand circles on that thing. Like, it's heaven to me. Oh, but yeah, it's getting people to look at it different. So it's not like this constant hunt for like merchandise or running to a rope drop an attraction or doing all these things like that. See it in different ways. So yes, those things still do exist, but they don't seem nearly as important to you. So it's trying to help people get to that point. And if they don't get there, it's fine. Like I'm happy that people are just enjoying it for anyway. But people do find happiness in getting a chance to see it in a way that is more meaningful beyond just the basics. So it's wonderful when it's like maybe a book they read or a podcast they listened to or a post they read that helps them see it in a different way. And it takes time because people are like ingrained to like be running around Disneyland because there's so much stuff to do. So it takes time, but you find little ways to chip at it and then they start to see it that way. So that's kind of the hope for like sharing the way that I look at Disneyland or the way you look at Disneyland so that people kind of can see it. And just Disney parks as a whole too, not just even Disneyland, Walt Disney World, Shanghai Disneyland Paris and all those different ones, like reframing Disney parks just in general, but specifically our resort here in California because it's the OG, so we have to be the most careful with that one because it's very sacred, almost too sacred to be honest. About what you can change and what you can't change brings up a lot of like you know discussion with people, so it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm one of those people who am not the biggest fan of the Avatar news. I'm going to
Mhm.
trust our Imagineers. I've said this
Yeah.
on all of our other podcasts. I will trust our Imagineers. They know what they're doing. There's a reason behind it. My thing, I love Monsters Inc. However, I just don't know how Avatar fits with California. That's
Mm,
my big. I need a good transition.
okay.
I need to be part of the storytelling. So that's my big question mark that I don't have an answer yet. And obviously we will know more as we're in the very, very early stages, right? So like I'm not like, no, I have a giant question mark that needs answering. But to your point, in finding those hidden Easter eggs and references, there's going to be a stack of like air canisters or something that are Scream canisters in
Hmm.
the Avatar ride. It's gonna
Somewhere.
be there, and I cannot
Fingers
wait to
crossed.
go and figure
Try to
out
find it.
where all these little Easter eggs are. It's gonna happen. There's gonna be some reference to transportation and art and all of the things, right? It's Oh, I'm gonna be very, very happy with that, finding new details because like you were saying, we're training our eyes essentially to look for new things and then get curious.
Hmm.
And it's just a beautiful thing. I mean, when we started, we're in the park, it was not only are we seeing these things in the park, but we've trained our eyes to now look elsewhere all
Hmm.
around us. Like you said, who made the chair you're sitting on? Oh, I didn't notice the color of those leaves because now I'm
Hmm.
stopping to appreciate the details. And that's really what we're focusing on, with your Imagineering Mondays as well, that, really stopping and learning more about what it is that we see. So
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's
there's so much in those little things like that. um and yeah, that's I'm hoping that people get there, and if they don't, it's okay, but I know that people like even listening to you guys or reading books, all the people that watch Disneyland Handcrafted, that got so much great buzz, or when Imagineering Story first debuted, like it's all little things that kind of chip away, or the new YouTube channel that Imagineering has, like it's all these little things that continue to like help people kind of guide them in that path. And how far they go after that is really up to them. But Disney's doing a great job um, of producing content that allows you that way. So it doesn't just have to be reading a book, because I very much understand that that is not for everybody. People absorb content in so many different ways. So if we can make a great YouTube series or the behind the attraction, like that was very much geared to the YouTube generation behind the attraction, as opposed to imagineering stories more like long form storytelling. But yeah, make it different for different people. Maybe it's in a 15-second reel. I don't know, like, or a TikTok. Like it's fine. It's all great. If you get people locked in, they all learn it a different way. So it's all great, but I'm happy that it just exists in general, because there's a lot of if you watch a lot of those older ones where Walt's at Imagineering. I mean, that 10 Centennial video was like iconic, of Walt walking through Imagineering with Julie Ream. You're seeing like literally the who's who of Imagineering and all working on prominent attractions that are going to debut in the 60s. Like it's so good. Like And then you just don't get a ton of that too much after he passes away. And then now it's coming back as Disney has now understood that people really care about this aspect of it, as opposed to years ago, they're just, like I said, they weren't rock stars and they were just engineers. Now they're like, oh my God, these are like legends. They mean something to us. Like, they weren't releasing all this Mary Blair themed merchandise like 40 years ago. That's now. Like, we know who Mary Blair is now. That's why there's all these plates and cups and dresses and hats that look like that pattern that she was able to craft. Like, that's, or everything from the Haunted Mansion that has that wallpaper on it now. Like, nobody cared about that 45 years ago. Like, that's a modern thing that people love that stuff now. So it's great seeing them lean into it, and yes, obviously to make money, sure, of course, but they know that there's an audience for that now, because that just didn't exist back in like the 90s. Nobody cared enough that way. It was just, oh, here's a ride, I don't care who built it, it's here. Now we have this generation of people that actually truly do care. We're actually fascinated and interested by it. So of course we're going to buy this thing that's got this like wallpaper on it or a reference to something on it, like, because that means something to us. It has prominence or like, significance. We're going to buy a thing that has a Walt quote on it. That's like a great one from him. So it's like, we always gotta, it's nice that they are leaning into it, in more ways than one. Because, consumer products also doesn't have to do it. That's more of like an Imagineering thing. But even they are very well aware of the significance of, making like a jersey that has the year of the character. Like those baseball jerseys have like the year when that character's movie came out. Like that's great. Like, oh, now you are well aware that your favorite movie came out in 1955 or whatever year it did. Like there's little subtlety in like that. So even seeing people wear those jerseys, an Ariel jersey that says 89 on the back, like now they know, okay, Little Mermaid came out in 1989. I'm like, something just as simple as that is like perfect. So like you got the right people working on these things to release, that pay homage. Or even if we make any merchandise that has like a year, like anything maybe for Small World this year for 60, that people are aware of the significance of this attraction being around that long, and then Disney doing like some fun post about it, on its anniversary day, that talks about its history, that shows off a little something that like kind of triggers a little moment in somebody's brain that like, oh, I'm actually interested in this now. So that's always really exciting.
Absolutely. Well, as we wrap up, we could talk for another 5 hours,
Right.
but
For sure.
we need to put a pin on it right there. But we would love to have you back anytime here on Imagine That. But until then, where can people find you?
I am my Instagram is Philander C85, it's like my name. And that's where you'll see every Monday I post. I also post just other fun stuff I get into, but I do tell people I truly, whether you follow or not, is not a big deal. That's not why I'm doing it. I do it because it's just a passion of my heart. So I tell people, if they don't want to see me occasionally post like what I ate for dinner or my kid or like other normal stuff, then just follow the hashtag Imagineering Monday, because I always create a hashtag. I created a hashtag for that. So it'll post to that too. So truly, whatever you feel like, I'm not on it a ton, but I definitely post like what I'm up to and stuff. So whether you find that interesting or not, I know some people are probably in it for the Monday only, and that's okay. That's totally okay. That's all right. I'm not searching for it to become a super thing. I'm happy that it has got a lot more eyeballs on it did, but just solely based on the fact that I appreciate that people are getting new Disney knowledge, whether they read it or not, or they glance at it and like, oh, that was cool. I didn't know that. So it's always great seeing that. But yeah, if they want to, that's where I'll be every Monday with something new, and hopefully something you've never heard of before. That's always the goal. Some things I haven't posted about because I just think everyone knows that already, and I'm like, oh, I'm just kind of beating the same bush over and over again. So I'm like, I haven't even touched on it. So I was like, oh, I think everybody knows that. But then sometimes I'm surprised. I think people do know this, and then a lot of people will comment that they don't know. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I try to go deeper than like the joke we talked about at the beginning, the 10 secrets of Disneyland that everybody knows. Like,
Right.
like I don't want it. That's boring to me. I need the deep dives. Let's go into like vehicle design and like, cast member like social clubs, like the Order of the Red Handkerchief, windows, art design, learning about people that helped to work on your favorite experience. You had no idea, just little things like that. That's where the real juice is there. So yeah, if they follow or not, that's okay. But that's where I'll be every Monday. I just got to figure out what's going to be this coming Monday now. One day at a time, 1 week at a time.
Absolutely. Kevin, did you have anything before we close out?
That's perfect. I know we're running out of time here. Thank you so much,
I know.
Philander. It was great talking to you.
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. I had a great time talking to you all. Yeah, let me know when you want me back. I love to talk about all the different things. Um, uh, there's so much to talk about. Oh my gosh, past, present, and future.
Exactly.
You know, the future's is amazing coming up. The past is always engaging, even when what's going on now is, there's so much stuff that's constantly, this wheel is, it's a spinning wheel that does not stop. And it's amazing to see how far it's come, where it's at, and where it's going. Like especially the future is big, bright, big time bright moving forward. There's so much stuff in development, and so many more things to talk about. Mhm.
Oh, looking forward to it. Well, we'll definitely have to have you back on for sure. Like I said, this could have been a 5-hour conversation, no problem. We will put a pin in it right there, but we'll have you on very soon. So, as we close out, if you have enjoyed this episode, and I hope you have, because we have, then scroll down on your podcast player and give us a 5-star rating. And if you have an extra minute to leave a written review or share it out with another fellow armchair Imagineer, that would be amazing. It only takes a couple seconds and it tells Apple, Spotify, and all the things that we're doing something awesome here and it just helps out the channel. If you are watching us on YouTube, hi there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all the things so you never miss an episode. Be sure to check out our amazing sponsors, our absolutely free Discord, and our Patreon page for all the details. Link is in the show notes below. And until next time, continue to place trust in the magic of imagination. And remember, the details within the parks surround us in our everyday lives. Imagine that. We'll see you next time.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land. Here age relives fond memories of the past. And here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Disneyland is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America, with the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world.